Very good morning to you. It is Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. Welcome to Mornings with Ken Rosato. We're live on both the East Coast in New Jersey and the New York City metro area. And as of yesterday, we're also live in Southern California throughout the LA area, now on LACA. Excuse my laryngitis. It's not your TV, it's me. It's getting better. Little by little, we'll get better. We have phone lines open for you to call. So what we do here, for those new to the format, we do news, weather, traffic, and opinion. And if there's something you don't like, instead of yelling at your TV, you pick up the phone and call. We'll put you right on. In fact, the more you disagree, the more we'll put you on. Pardon me. 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the weather near you.
Weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts.
And of course, Mike, just as we begin the show, my laryngitis kicks in fully. That's just the way it is.
That is the way it is, especially with the weather kind of warming up over the next few days on both coasts, mind you. We have a big temperature swing that'll make it feel like spring in just a few days. So first, the chill sitting around for most of the Northeast. Had a few snow flurries roll through New Jersey yesterday. Those clouds have now moved out to sea, and for the rest of the day have partly sunny conditions developing later on this afternoon. You can see a lot of those clouds spreading across the East Coast later today. Plenty of sun elsewhere across the country, especially out in the Midwest. You head over to the West Coast, and still some of those showers pounding the San Francisco area, including all points in between and down toward LA. Likely see the last round of clouds and showers today before you start drying out as well. So lots of clear weather shaping up over the next few days. It's the tale of two jet streams. You have this subtropical jet, which is lifting further north, allowing for all that warmth to spread across the middle of the country, and the polar jet stream dipping down in the northeast, keeping it chilly just for today. But over the next few days, that subtropical jet keeps that warm weather blowing right across the country, including parts of the southwest, and allowing for that cold weather to stay well off to our north. So not going to feel too chilly for the next few days. We'll talk more about the airport delays. Oh, well, we'll show them to you now anyway. Great weather all across the northeast, especially with the clear sky that's around for today. Just a few light breezes, so green on the screen at all the major airports and the hubs across the northeast today. We'll tell you more about what to expect over the next few days because there is more rain setting up for the southwest. And then, of course, as we head into the latter part of this weekend, warmth arrives in New Jersey. We'll detail that coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, warmth. That's kind of scary. What's that about?
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I think you remember we talked about this back in December when we had the northeast cold front, and you said usually this doesn't happen till early to mid-January. And I
Right.
said, I bet everything is shifted by 3 to 4 weeks. That really is. Maybe Mother Nature's going to prove me very wrong here, but that really is what it feels like. This is what it felt like 4 weeks post tense. You like that? You never get to say post tense or
Correct.
post haste. That's sort of what it feels like. So let's hope that means that by early March, we'll see early April-like temperatures for the
I
Northeast. We
think
keep our
we're on
fingers crossed.
track for that. So it's something that's showing up in long
Yay.
range models, and it's looking like that.
I always loved long-range models. That's a whole other show, though. All right, Mike, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. We'll check back. For those on the East Coast right now, we have 29 degrees in Trenton. It's 31 degrees in northern New Jersey, New York area, and it is 64 degrees in Los Angeles. Big difference right there. We'll take that anytime. In terms of traffic, we have on the East Coast right now, we'll do New Jersey first. A whole bunch of things happening. Let's go to 295. We have a crash now reported just south of exit 22. You can see the brake lights there. In fact, I think that one stop vehicle might be what the crash was because earlier that was all kind of slow through there. So this is exit 22, Hessian Avenue, West Deptford Township, the left shoulder, left lane, 3 lanes closed as you pass or come up to that area. Anyway, nonetheless, that's what you got. Not a major problem. Delays on 495, that is the Helix eastbound from east of the Turnpike in North Bergen to west of Pleasant Avenue in Union City. All lanes are open. Pardon me again, it's just a slowdown through that area. Hudson River crossings at this time. The Lincoln Tunnel is a little slow for this hour. It's 35 to 40. Holland Tunnel is only 20 minutes in. Look at the GWB upper and lower levels right now, and what we have is a dead stop. This is a different angle for the camera. Just to give you an idea, on the right, that's the lower level. The left is the upper. It is rare that it looks this bad at 7:05 Eastern time, 4:05 Western time. But nonetheless, that's what you got. So give yourselves a lot of extra travel time. Try to go Holland Tunnel if you can. Otherwise, even Lincoln looks better than the GWB right now. 888-658-0234 if you'd like to call in. In Los Angeles, what we have now, of course, it just switched on us. This is all new for us folks for the West Coast. Excuse me. Here we go. Traffic. My traffic button is different here for the West Coast. All right, we'll get. It's 4:05 in the morning. We don't have a lot of traffic in LA right now. I promise LA. We will have the overnight construction for you in a minute. It's not popping up right now, but I'll get that for you. In the news, former Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores pleaded not guilty to narco-terrorism and other charges in Manhattan federal court yesterday. Prosecutors at the Justice Department begged to differ, saying Maduro provided, quote, Venezuelan diplomatic passports to drug traffickers and facilitated diplomatic cover for planes used by money launderers to repatriate drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela. In other words, they gave fake passports to people who sold drugs from all over the world to get them into the U.S. so they could distribute it and make it look like it was a government thing. That's the English translation of that. Reports say the dictator declared himself, quote, a prisoner of war yesterday, comparing himself to Jesus. Some Democrats have criticized the military operation as a violation of state sovereignty. Not all, though. New Jersey Democrat Gottheimer was behind the move. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi said, quote, Operation Absolute Resolve was well within President Trump's constitutional authority, as it was not a takeover of a government entity, but it was an arrest for a drug dealer who violated American laws. Maduro could face the death penalty if convicted. Threats also now going out to the leader of Colombia, who got in front of a microphone and stupidly and with bravado said, okay, Mr. Trump, come after me, come after me. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Mr. Trump has proven that he does not take that stuff lightly, nor should you, President of Colombia. It is 7:07 right now, and the Dow added nearly 595 points in yesterday's session and closed out the day with both a new intraday high and new record close at nearly 49,000. Unbelievable. A year ago, we were hovering in the upper 30s, thousands, I should say. Gold is at a record $4,456 an ounce. Crude oil down to $61 a barrel. That will translate to lower gas prices. All this in spite of the capture of Nicolas Maduro, an action that normally would lead to a sense of insecurity and stock sell-offs. The strong market suggests investors are pleased with the confident President Trump decision and the actions of our leader. The Trump administration is cutting off more than $10 billion in social services and child care funding meant for a handful of Democrat-led states over concerns that the benefits were fraudulently funneled to non-citizens. The Department of Health and Human Services will freeze taxpayer funding from the Child Care Development Fund, the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Program, or TAMP, and the Social Services Block Grant Program. At least $7.3 billion in federal funds will be prevented from going to California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York. About 130,000 illegal migrants lived in Minnesota in 2023 alone, roughly 2% of the state's population. The Somali diaspora, meanwhile, population of that state tops 150,000, most of whom live in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, many of whom were granted a temporary legal status as refugees when they first came to the U.S. 45 years ago. Minnesota Governor and former Democrat vice presidential candidate Tim Walz announced yesterday that he was no longer running for a third term, acknowledging concerns about fraud in a press conference yesterday. Unconfirmed reports say Walz may also be considering stepping down as governor before the end of this term. 7:09 on the East Coast, 4:09 on the West. The Department of Homeland Security singled out Hilton on social media, saying a hotel in Minnesota canceled reservations belonging to ICE agents. According to a screenshot shared by DHS on X yesterday, a Hampton Inn in Lakeville, south of Minneapolis, said it was, quote, not allowing any ICE or immigration agents to stay at their property. If you are with DHS or immigration, let us know, as we will have to cancel your reservation. That's what the screenshot said. Pardon me. Hilton said it doesn't own or operate that hotel. It's independent. The company's shares were down almost 3% yesterday as a result. Americans are not happy about Hilton. Hilton put out a statement saying, please don't get mad at us. This hotel is independently owned and operated. These actions were not reflective of Hilton values. We have been in direct contact with the hotel, and they have apologized for the actions of their team, which was not in keeping with their policies. How about the locally owned Hilton Hotel there, which is a Hampton Inn? I bet you show us that you are firing that staff, what they've done. Because I have a question. If the people they were talking about were African American and they put up a sign saying, if you are African American and you have reservations, call us to cancel because we won't let you stay here. I'd like to see what the result would be. Would you still have them in your employ? No, you would fire them, and you should fire them, and you should fire them in this case as well for what they did on their own. Thought it was a good idea at the time, huh? Liberals, not so much. 7/11 and several earthquakes, including one with a 6.2 magnitude, struck western Japan yesterday morning, centered in Shimane Prefecture. The initial 6.2 quake hit at 10:18 a.m. local time with a depth of about 6 miles. A second tremor followed shortly after. Long swaying motion was widely reported, with additional aftershocks continuing through late morning. No serious damage reported. Nobody was hurt. And a man was taken into custody yesterday after VP J.D. Vance's home in Cincinnati, Ohio, was vandalized. Police say the man was taken into custody at the scene. Investigators say 26-year-old William DeFore, whose parents say he recently started calling himself Julia, meaning he now believes he is trans, faces local charges, including vandalism, obstruction of official business, and criminal trespass. The question is, Secret Service is supposed to be guarding his home. Where were they, and how do you let somebody get to the house if you're doing your job? And a wild scene at a school in Elizabeth yesterday. An out-of-control driver slammed into the John E. Dwyer Technology Academy about 8 a.m., striking a student in the process. The student has a minor leg injury, should be okay. 13 minutes past the hour, and when we return, how AI will impact this year's midterm elections. You're watching Mornings with Ken Rosato, covering the East Coast and now the West Coast. Stream daily on Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, Facebook, and X. Now stream live on Local Now, Substack, Rumble, and Twitch. We're coming right back.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. Play it big.
Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato for your Tuesday, 15 minutes past the hour right now. And meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast near you.
Weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts.
Mike, I love the hyphenated words you gave us last block. Warm up. I'll take that anytime.
Mhm. Yeah. Warm up is a good one. Cool down, probably reserve that for next week because there is a significant warming trend that takes over the next few days, and not only across New Jersey and the East Coast, but even the West Coast as we dry things out after so much rain there. As far as the cloud picture right now, we saw those clouds hover last night. It's been a southwesterly breeze, which actually bumped up temperatures anywhere from 10 to 12 degrees from this time yesterday. We'll likely have a few breaks in the clear sky and breaks in the clouds this afternoon, and then bring back some more cloud cover later on today. So we're not out of the woods just yet with that gray sky, but by the end of the week, it turns much brighter and looks much clearer with that warming trend coming in. Now, as far as the West Coast today, still have the residual showers around. It's this upper level system that's keeping all of that moisture down in the southwest. And as it moves across places like Arizona and New Mexico, allowing for some steady rains there, it at least starts to dry out LA and the surrounding areas. So plan on an improvement to the conditions there with the drier weather taking over as that wet weather slides its way eastward over the coming days. Then as we head to the Midwest, there's more ice and snow on the way, similar to what happened yesterday. This is a new system coming in. It's like an Alberta clipper coming in right from Canada, allowing for some icing today in the area shaded in pink. And as it works its way eastward and the air cools tonight, a lot of that warm layer will be gone, allowing for that snow to begin accumulating. And again, it's primarily north of New Jersey into the northeast area where you have so much cold weather lingering right now in places like the Berkshires and up into Maine. Our weather for New Jersey for this afternoon, bringing back the clouds today. We'll talk more about the longer term trend and show you the future cast as to just how clear and sunny it gets over the next few days and how that translates to warmth. That's in the next few minutes, Ken.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Temperature-wise, 29 degrees in Trenton right now. It's 31 degrees northern New Jersey, 64 degrees in SoCal. Yeah, we will take that. Let's look at traffic first in New Jersey. Disabled vehicle on Route 9 northbound at 440 in Woodbridge Township. The right lane is closed there. That's not causing massive delays, but if you look, you'll see some brake lights, some tail lights there as people come around the bend there to hit that area. We also have delays on Route 15 southbound from north of Taylor Road to Route 699 Berkshire Valley Road in Jefferson Valley Township. All lanes are open. We go over to the Garden State Parkway. There's a crash on the GSP northbound north of exit 137 that just popped up. That's Route 28 Cranford. All lanes open, vehicles on the right shoulder. And now we have, let's see, a little bit of a slowdown that's reported. Pam, do you have the 495 or do you have the 295? I believe we have 295. Let's take a look at 295 right now. If you have it, and if you don't have it, that's okay. Either way, 295 had an earlier crash causing just a little bit of a slowdown. It's okay, and that is that it may have actually been cleared because I see it's off the screen now. There it is. Nothing there. Yeah, so they cleared the accident. That's why they just pulled it off the screen. All right, Pam, thank you for that. Your Hudson River crossings, this is for the Northeast now, of course. Hudson River crossings, Holland Tunnel, 15 to 20. The Lincoln Tunnel is 30 to 35. GWB upper and lower is a mess. It is very, very slow. The upper is on the left, lower is on the right. It looks like the upper is worse than the lower right now, but it's going to cost you at least 35 to 40 getting into Manhattan that way. We go over to the West Coast. We have lane closures on the Antelope Valley Freeway in Lancaster, ongoing construction there. Caltrans Freeway enhancement on 605 is there to improve commuter travel and freight movement. Weekly road and lane closures of Topanga Canyon Boulevard, that's Route 27. Crews on the Pacific Coast Highway may set things up there. They'll put signage up. Just beware of that. Nightly lane closures on the I-5 in Commerce, Downey, and Santa Fe Springs. And overnight lane closures along the 405 through the Sepulveda Pass for pavement rehabilitation. As a New Yorker, it will take me at least a month to get used to saying Sepulveda. Little by little, Los Angeles will get there. It is 20 minutes past the hour. And political campaigns, as they gear up for the next election cycle, artificial intelligence is quickly becoming one of the most powerful tools shaping how candidates connect with voters. From automated donor outreach to AI generated messaging, the 2026 midterms could mark a major turning point in how political power is deployed. Travis Trowick is chairman and CEO of FullPack, a nonpartisan campaign technology provider used by thousands of candidates nationwide. We say good morning to Travis.
Thanks for having me, Ken. Great to be here.
You bet. Nice to have you on. And are campaigns using AI right now? And if so, how are they using it?
Absolutely. It's already being used in political campaigns across the spectrum. Actually, you can take the acquisition that we made just a few months ago in Advocacy Lab, an AI-powered content generation platform that allows our users or our clients to very quickly generate copy and graphics that they can use to send to their voters that are resonating individually with each voter that's receiving it.
Interesting. And 2026 may be the first election where AI isn't just for support, but actually a core campaign operating system. Talk about that a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So AI has been used a little bit in 2025 and even before that, but 2026 is definitely going to be the first year that we see where it's mainstream, where campaigns across the political spectrum are using AI in order to benefit their campaigns, reach more voters, and reach them more effectively with a whole bunch of different use cases, either increasing the power of their copy so that it resonates better with the individual voters receiving it, or maybe for data targeting so that we can analyze the data that we're getting back more. That way we can use the power of a dozen volunteers in order to augment our outreach solutions.
Well, fundraising has always been one of the biggest challenges for campaigns. They always say that money is the mother's milk of politics. How is automation and AI changing fundraising efficiency? Does it kind of take a lot of the burden off, I should say, because years ago you'd have to buy airtime on radio and TV stations. AI using social media kind of changes all of that, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It brings these tools down. Instead of being reserved for the biggest campaigns that have the biggest budgets, now local campaigns and smaller campaigns can enjoy those same outreach tools. And that's kind of a lot of what we're doing at FullPack is bringing these high power tools that allow campaigns to run with more efficiency and more effectiveness, and bringing those down so that they're accessible to all political campaigns and elected officials and nonprofits.
How much would you say exactly that AI, social media had in electing some of the social democrats or the democratic socialists, I should say, in New York and Seattle, et cetera, whose audiences tend to be more in touch with social media and AI? How much of an impact do you think AI had on the campaigns in the last year?
I think it was significant, more significant that we've come to realize already. And you look at the races in New York City Council. You can see from mayor that those races using AI and using digital in a way that resonates with the voters that are coming out to the polls. It creates those engagements and those relationships with the politicians it's completely different than even just a few years ago. We can bypass all of the noise, bypassing these big channels and speaking directly to the voters so that they can resonate and hear our message directly. And it's a very powerful new way to campaign.
Yeah, traditionally, and I've been doing this for over 40 years or about 40 years, and traditionally, what we found is younger people can get loud about campaigns, but haven't traditionally come out to vote. That seems to be changing very strongly. And there's only one thing that's changed, and that's AI and social media, really. I mean, that's the only difference here. So clearly, it's having an impact on younger people that it never had before. Back in the day when MTV was a new thing, they had a campaign called Rock the Vote, and it was it was aimed at getting younger people to get to the polls and support their candidates. But Rock the Vote never, in the early 10, 15, 20 years of Rock the Vote, did nothing. Everyone, in fact, people in politics would laugh and say, "You rock this." It was sneered at and made fun of because literally younger people say, "Yeah, I'll come and vote," and they would sleep in and they'd find out that the other candidate wanted to roll over and go to bed. That is not the case today at all.
No, it's not. Voter turnout's going across the board, and we're energizing our bases and getting more people out. And that's a lot of what we're doing right now at FullPack at my company, and we're trying to bring the first retail opportunity for retail investors to participate in the growing trends of political election spending. And that's actually our ticker that's been reserved by NASDAQ on our website, gotv.com, for Get Out the Vote. That's everything that we're trying to do. We're trying to be a nonpartisan political outreach organization that can help fractionally fill in the gaps, campaign in a box with campaigns, political organizations, nonprofits, and elected officials to get out the vote, increase turnout in our democracy, because we believe that a higher turnout creates more fair elections.
Yeah. Now, Travis, let's just say that I'm running for dog catcher of Newport, California, just making it up. Okay.
Yep.
I come to you. What would you do in order to help get me elected if I come and hire your firm?
There's a whole bunch of different things we can do. It really depends on where you are in your race. And that's kind of what we are able to do and fill in the gaps. We can come and join a local campaign that's got nothing set up yet, right? We can come in and set up their digital, get them fully ready online with a nice, beautiful website, get their donation funnel set up, get them registered and compliant to begin texting. We can get their direct mail. We can do all of their digital ads for their Meta and Facebook targeting, obviously integrate AI so that we can have better targeting. Or if it's, maybe a bigger campaign, U.S. Senate that we're helping, and they already have their direct TV or their direct mail and their TV ready to go. Well, okay, we could just take over their texting and maybe some of their fundraising and survey and polling so that we can really fill in the gaps. It's really, we can fill in any gaps that we need to help these campaigns so that our only goal is to make sure that the budget that they are spending is being used effectively so that we're not just throwing our noise into the void, but we're actually having meaningful conversations with voters.
Pretty amazing. And where do you see the biggest ethical fault lines emerging as AI becomes more commonly used? What safeguards are being put in place to prevent any abuse?
Oh, that's a question that's probably way above my pay grade, but we are internally integrating a lot of protections to make sure that the AI content that is being generated is disclosed. That's one of the most important things, making sure that people know that they're looking at AI because they're not going to be able to tell on their own. So having those disclaimers and using it in a responsible way, AI is a very powerful tool, and we believe campaigns should be using it, but using it responsibly, disclosing that it's being used, and not creating content that would be considered deep fakes or trying to impersonate other people, but using it in a way that just expedites the way and the speed that a campaign can respond to the changing political environment.
Love it. All right. We are out of time, but Travis Trawick, the chairman and CEO of Fullpack, we thank you for coming on this morning. I'm sure we'll see a lot of you in the future.
Be happy to come back. Thank you, Ken.
You bet. 28 minutes past the hour. We'll be back taking your calls at 888-658-0234. You're watching Mornings with Ken Rosato.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. play it big.
A very good morning to you. 30 minutes past the hour, Tuesday, January 6th. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato. Our phone lines are open, 888-658-0234, East Coast or West Coast, 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has your forecast for your specific area.
Weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts.
Either way, Mike, East Coast or West Coast, I would think that if one is a fan of warmth, you'd probably want to gravitate toward the West Coast.
But we'll have highs up in the 60s in the East Coast. By Thursday, with the sunshine, that will feel lovely, and it keeps warming into the weekend, despite the fact some rain comes in. But what's interesting about this weather pattern over the next few days is just how much warmth surges across the country, even though the jet stream is kind of flat here, keeping the cold air to the north and some of that warmer air down south. There's a little bit of a bow that allows some of that cold air to shift northward, allowing the warmth to settle in over much of the country. And even by Wednesday, as some of that weather continues to impact the Southwest, moving east of LA into the desert, I think most of that wet weather transitions into the Midwest by the time we get to Thursday, and that will take over, allowing for some warmth to spread across the Northeast. So big time warm up on the way once we get to Thursday time frame, even for you in Florida. Folks down there enjoying some very pleasantly mild weather. So there's the system across the Midwest that's allowing for some snow, ice, and rain to fall, stays north of New Jersey and just goes into New England over the next few days, clear across the Midwest, and then that last system entering the LA area, Southern California by Wednesday, clearing out and spreading across inland areas. And as that works its way eastward, the West Coast clears out, and into Thursday and Friday, beautiful clear sky takes over. With the warmth that sets up for the East Coast, there will be a little bit more rain chances on the way by the time we get to Friday, Saturday, as that system works its way eastward. But overall, it's a nice, dry, tranquil forecast for most of the country until that point. So it'll look quite nice until then. Even the longer range futurecast going into the weekend with Saturday and Sunday featuring some more of that wet weather and shower activity, it's still at least mild. West Coast stays nice and dry. So we like that going into even early next week. We'll tell you more about the longer range coming up, including that 2-week temperature trend that everybody loves to hear about. Those forecasts ahead coming up, Ken, in just a few minutes.
All right, Sarah, thank you very much. In terms of traffic for New Jersey, first we have a crash and vehicle fire on the Turnpike in the express lanes northbound in the vicinity of exit 72. That's as you get north toward the GWB, and that's impacting traffic in Leonia. The right lane only is open to traffic right now in there. We have a disabled vehicle. Route 9 northbound by 440 in Woodbridge, the right lane of the two lanes now closed. Over to the Garden State Parkway, we have a crash northbound, north of exit 137, which is Route 28, Cranford. All lanes are open. The vehicle's now on the right shoulder, but you can see the taillights there. Everybody kind of stopped to take a peek. They love to say, hey, look, Marge, look at the traffic. Look at the guy broken down on the right. Isn't that awful? And that's what causes rubbernecking, as we call it. Your Hudson River crossings right now, you have a slowdown going into the Lincoln Tunnels, costing about 35 minutes across, 25 at the Holland. GWB, again, because we do have issues in the area on I-95, we have a mess. So you could see in fact, the emergency lights right there. You just saw on the left, see that? That's in connection with what we talked about a moment ago, the crash and vehicle fire on the Jersey Turnpike, causing that issue. But you could see the traffic now as people are approaching the bridge itself. It's going to cost you 40 to 45 minutes getting across into Manhattan. Over to the West Coast now, we have extended weekend closures to reduce I-405 to 3 lanes in each directions through the Sepulveda area, the Sepulveda Pass. That's going to cause slowdowns. There are issues on Highway 101. Crews are continuing to work at the Wildlife Crossing. Metrolink trains will not operate between the Laguna Niguel, Mission Viejo, and Oceanside areas. And we have construction updates changing nightly on state routes 71 and 91. So please beware of that. It is now 35 minutes past the hour. Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey will nominate Aaron Binder to lead New Jersey's Treasury. Binder is currently serving as the state's deputy treasurer. As treasurer, he will oversee New Jersey's multi-billion-dollar budget, taxation, pensions, and investments, and manage a department of over 3,000 employees. Police are investigating a deadly double shooting in Paulsboro, Gloucester County. The incident happened early Sunday morning. Investigators say when they arrived on scene, 40-year-old Roman Acevedo told them he had shot two people. Police say he admitted that he intentionally shot an adult woman before accidentally shooting a minor. Either way, they both got shot. The adult was killed. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The minor did survive. Acevedo now charged with first-degree murder. New Jersey has a state flower, a state fruit, even a state bird. Well, soon, New Jersey may soon be able to add a state candy. In October, a New Jersey lawmaker reintroduced a bill that would make saltwater taffy the official state candy of New Jersey. Nearly 12 years ago, the bill was introduced to make saltwater taffy the state's official candy, but there weren't enough votes to pass it. Now, saltwater taffy came to be accidentally in the 1880s, as many things are accidentally created. There was a storm surge, and that forced saltwater from the ocean to come inland and get into a candy shop in Atlantic City. There was a bunch of taffy being made overnight. The taffy got bathed in salt water. Thank you, everybody. A customer insisted, though, on buying all the taffy despite it being waterlogged with salt water. The customer said the salt from the water actually brought out the sweetness in the taffy. They liked it, and a Jersey Shore delicacy was born. The bill must still be voted on by the state legislature and signed into law by incoming New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill. It is 37 past the hour. A rising star in the boxing world for New Jersey was struck and killed by a car on Saturday in Old Bridge. The amateur boxing champ, 30-year-old Devon Porter of New Brunswick, was crossing Route 9 just before 1:30 in the morning when police say a Honda driven by an unnamed 30-year-old man struck him. Porter was pronounced dead at the scene. No word on whether charges would be filed. Well, it may not be last week's near $2 billion lottery jackpot, but it was a sweet win nonetheless. A lottery player in Middlesex County won 50 grand last Tuesday. But get this, it wasn't with an actual ticket. It was with a scratch-off, the $50,000 Jumbo Bucks scratch-off game. So that individual won one of the big jackpots of $50,000. The winning ticket was sold at Mini Mart in South River. The winner's name, wisely not released. Democrats have been hiking taxes and fees in New Jersey for decades while providing fewer services. So is it any wonder that they are fleeing? People, that is, are fleeing by the thousands to sunnier climes like Florida, where there's no state income tax and year-round warmth and sun. In its 49th National Movers Study, United Van Lines explored the shifts in migration throughout the United States, revealing where and why residents are moving. The study showed the main reason for moving is to be closer to family, followed by job opportunities and job market expansion. But for the 8th consecutive year, more residents moved out of New Jersey, also California and New York, by the way, than any other state, revealing a 62% outbound migration rate. That means New Jersey's population, like that of New York and California, is shrinking. Now, are you wondering why the liberals in those states are trying to import illegal aliens? Scratch your head. That's why. Other liberal high-tax states are experiencing a similar outbound migration rate. A beloved North Carolina science teacher was killed by a career criminal home intruder while she was on the phone with 911 begging for help. Zoe Welsh, a teacher of 20 years, was found with life-threatening injuries after police were called to a burglary at her Raleigh, North Carolina home. This happened early Saturday. Welsh phoned 911 to report an intruder was in her house, and when she was on the phone with dispatchers, the attacker began to assault her. The mom was rushed to a nearby hospital where she died from her injuries. Now get this. This is the moral of the story here. Police say 36-year-old Ryan Camacho was arrested multiple times, but judges kept letting him out of jail. They also say that he was later arrested nearby, charged with murder and felony burglary, and he has at least 24 arrests, was found guilty in 2021 of escaping from a prison in Salisbury, North Carolina, but a leftist Wake County judge dismissed the case, saying that he was psychologically incapable of proceeding. But rather than putting him in an institution, They just let him go. So when the assistant DA tried to have Camacho committed, saying, look, if he's dangerous, let's commit him. Well, another judge denied that, saying, no, he's not sick enough to commit him. So he was sick enough to attack somebody, sick enough to murder somebody, but not sick enough to see an institution, and certainly not sick enough to go to trial. This is what's happening with liberal judges in our country. And until there's a reckoning, until you have elected lawmakers creating laws that will find judges responsible and liable for people dying because of their bad decisions and their liberal leftist attitudes, this will continue. But it's up to you and me. You can't keep electing liberal Democrats and expecting a different outcome because they keep appointing liberal judges and they let them go and they let them do this, killing innocent people in the process. This happens over and over again. And the perfect example is every time we have a case of an illegal alien, judges always find every reason to protect and defend the illegal alien instead of defending the tax-paying citizen and protecting them from any breaking of the law by the illegal. At least say the investigation in the North Carolina case is continuing. It is amazing, though. This continues to happen over and over again. The left keeps making sure whatever would be the anti-American thing to do is done. Every time the Trump administration finds somebody breaking the law, tries to deport somebody based on existing law, the laws are quite clear. You cannot just come into our country and stay here. You can't just set up a tent in the middle of the street and say, I'm now an American. There's a way to come here legally and a way to be processed as a legal migrant. My relatives did that. Probably all of your relatives did that. But today, partially because of the Biden administration, basically opening the floodgates and inviting people in. And then when people were checked at the gate, the Biden administration ordered Border Patrol not to do anything. Let the people in. Don't stop them. Don't send them back. As a result, we have anywhere from 10 to 20 million, maybe even 30 million people here illegally. We may never know. Latest information shows that about 2.6 million people either were deported or self-deported in the last year, but the Trump administration said they have much more work ahead of them. It is 43 minutes past the hour. When we come back, lots more news for you. You're watching Mornings with Ken Rosato, stream daily on Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, Facebook, X, and more platforms. We're coming back in 2 minutes.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. Play it big.
Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato for your Tuesday. It's 45 minutes past the hour. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast near you.
Weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts.
All right, Mike, what's going on East Coast and West Coast?
Well, Ken, we've got some lovely weather shaping up across the East Coast and West Coast over the next few days. As once we get rid of these last of the showers, by tomorrow, you see the last upper level low moving in across the LA area over the course of tonight into tomorrow, and then quickly speeds inland, allowing for that clear, dry weather to take over. So we'll see a big improvement come Thursday. Look at those clouds clearing out. Very pleasant. Once we head to the East Coast by later on this week, we'll likely see that temperature rise quickly. As soon as today, there's the warm front lifting off to the north. We get another shot of cooler weather into tomorrow, but more warm weather is on the way with some clearing thanks to the big high pressure that settles in. Lots of sunshine taking over throughout the middle of the week, and then likely some spotty sprinkles move into the picture come Friday into Saturday with some more substantial rains. Warmer weather likely across most of northern New Jersey. That's the warmer end of the scale through the middle toward the end of the month. This is week 3 into week 4 of January, and the rest of the country also faring above average in terms of temperature. There will likely be a drier period for most of the country heading into the next 2 weeks, especially out west. But again, like we mentioned yesterday, there's not a big problem in terms of drought, as most of the country, well, at least in California, you are not in a drought entering rainy season. It's good to keep the soil moistures a little higher. Parts of New Jersey, we'll talk more about that in the New Jersey update coming up in a few minutes, has a little bit more of that dry weather heading into spring. But we'll detail more of that, including the New Jersey forecast, Ken. It's coming up in just a few minutes.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. We got a lot of traffic East Coast, and a little bit on the West, but we'll go over all of it for you. Right now, we have disabled vehicle on the Garden State Parkway southbound at the Essex Toll Plaza in Bloomfield. That's like by exit 148, 149. We are told the center toll lane is closed. People are getting by, but it's just a bit of a slowdown there. Crash on 295 northbound, exit 67 in Lawrence Township. Right lane is closed there. Still have a vehicle fire on the Jersey Turnpike express lanes near exit 72. We'll show that as we get to the bridge crossing video. That's coming up in just a moment. We also have we have a problem now on 280 westbound at the Garden State Parkway. I believe it's a broken down vehicle on the right shoulder, and that's causing what you see there. That's a lot of traffic. We'll see if there's something bigger than that. This is, again, 280 westbound at the Garden State Parkway, causing what you see on your screen right now. We have a crash also on, 287 with a debris spill. This is northbound, north of exit 42, Route 46 in Parsippany Troy Hills. I don't know if we have that, Pam. That's the one I just called up for. So again, that's on 287. You'll see that's, take the second camera down, Pam, on the list. 287, if you have that. There you go. So that's causing what you see on the right now, 287. That is, again, debris spill and a crash. You see the taillights as people are coming into that. Your Hudson River crossings on the Lincoln Tunnel, you're talking about 40 minutes, 20 to 25 now at the Holland and the GWB. Again, we have an issue leading into the GWB. There are problems. In fact, there it is. You see the emergency lights there on the top. That is due to an earlier vehicle fire on the express lane approach, which you see there on the upper left of your screen. Fortunately, I think a lot of people have heeded the warnings of the traffic people because the upper and lower levels were bumper to bumper 15 minutes ago. You can see they are now moving pretty well. We're told now it's down to about 25 to 30 minutes crossover into Manhattan as a result. Over on the West Coast, we have a traffic hazard right now on Route 243 near 240, let's see, near mile marker 243 South. We also have a minor accident on the I-210 West near Sunland Boulevard, accident on Route 18 near 238th Street East, and we have an accident on the I-10 East near Rosemead Boulevard. That's a lot for this early in the morning, 4:50 in the morning California time. Also an accident on 210 West near State Route 118 West. Just a quick rundown of what's happening on the West Coast. For those on the East Coast, we are now joined by LACA. So it's on LACA is our West Coast channel. We say good morning to our West Coast fans and friends at this early hour. In the news now, at 50 minutes past the hour, former Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and wife Celia Flores pleaded not guilty to narco-terrorism and other charges in Manhattan federal court yesterday. Prosecutors at the Justice Department say Maduro provided Venezuelan diplomatic passports to drug traffickers and facilitated diplomatic cover for planes used by money launderers to repatriate drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela. Reports say the dictator declared himself a prisoner of war yesterday, comparing himself to Jesus. Some Democrats have criticized the military operation as a violation of state sovereignty. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi said Operation Absolute Resolve was well within President Trump's constitutional authority. It was a police action. It wasn't the overthrow of a government. Maduro is a drug dealer who is illegally importing millions of pounds of drugs into the U.S. under the cover of diplomatic immunity. We now know this to be true. Of course, he is innocent until proven guilty and will have his day in court. But this was a law enforcement action to arrest indicted individuals in Venezuela. Maduro could face the death penalty if convicted, as hundreds of thousands of Americans died from the drug overdoses from the drugs provided by Maduro. 752 East Coast, 452 West. The Dow added nearly 595 points in yesterday's session and closed out the day with both a new intraday high and new record close at nearly 49,000. Gold is at a record $4,456 an ounce. Crude oil now down to $61 a barrel, which will result in lower gas prices. All this in spite of the capture of Maduro, an action that would normally lead to insecurity and a stock sell-off. The strong market suggests investors are pleased with what happened under President Trump's administration. Excuse me. 52 past the hour. The Trump administration is cutting off more than $10 billion in social services and child care funding meant for a handful of Democrat-led states over concerns that the benefits were fraudulently funneled to non-citizens. The Department of Health and Human Services will freeze taxpayer funding from the Child Care Development Fund, the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Program, and the Social Services Block Grant Program. At least $7.3 billion in federal funds will be prevented from going to California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York. About 130,000 illegal migrants live in Minnesota, and then about 150,000 Somali refugees live there. That is a lot of the population, about 3% in total of the state's population. That is a lot. And now Minnesota Governor and former Democrat VP candidate Tim Walz announced yesterday he was no longer running for a third term, acknowledging concerns about fraud in a press conference yesterday. Unconfirmed reports say Walz may also be considering stepping down as governor before the end of this term. The Department of Homeland Security singled out Hilton on social media yesterday, saying a hotel in Minnesota canceled reservations belonging to ICE agents. According to a screenshot shared by DHS on X yesterday, a Hampton Inn, which is under the umbrella of Hilton in Lakeville, south of Minneapolis, said it would not allow any ICE or immigration agents to stay at their property. It said, if you are with DHS or immigration, let us know, as you will now have to cancel your reservation. Hilton said that it does not own or operate that hotel. The company's shares, by the way, of Hilton were down nearly 2.5% because of what happened. Hilton put out a statement saying this hotel is independently owned and operated. These actions were not reflective of Hilton values. We've been in direct contact with the hotel. They've apologized for the actions of their team, which was not in keeping with their policies. However, the question is, will they fire the staff? And so far, they have not done so. Again, I mentioned this earlier. If the staff decided on their own that they would put up a sign saying, if you are Black or Hispanic or Asian, you must now undo your reservation because you can't stay here, you know they would be terminated. So when you discriminate and single somebody out for doing their legal job as ICE agents or members of Homeland Security, you are in violation of many laws and rules, and you should be terminated for that. 7:55 East Coast, 4:55 West. Disturbing viral video shows the moment a transgender gym goer appears to be masturbating in a stall inside the women's bathroom at a Planet Fitness in California. Planet Fitness patron Grace Hudson says that she encountered the situation while she was using the women's bathroom at the gym's Concord facility. That's in Concord, California, just outside San Francisco. In May, this happened. The video went viral over the weekend. We chose not to show the clip. It is clear that you could see the outline of body parts in the shadows of that clip. If you want to go see it, you could see it online. It's all over the internet. We won't show it here. But this is, again, a case of a trans woman, and all the people saying trans women are women. Well, if trans women are women, they don't whip out their private parts and masturbate in women's bathroom stalls. It would be physically impossible. And from a testosterone drive, it wouldn't happen. So all those people who say trans women are women, like hell, they are not. And women deserve to have a safe space in a women's locker room without having to encounter a man with psychological issues calling himself a woman and pleasuring himself with women around him. 57 minutes past the hour, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani's newly appointed tenant advocate called to seize private property and blasted homeownership as a, quote, weapon of white supremacy in a series of pro-communist social media posts. The crazy woman you see on your screen next to me is named Sia Weaver. She is Mamdani's new director of the city's Office to Protect Tenants. She made those statements and urged her followers to elect more communists in several lecturing posts on her now deleted X account that was recently unearthed. We were able to unearth this. Weaver previously worked as a campaign coordinator for Housing Justice for All and served as an advisor for Mamdani's mayoral campaign. Mamdani wants to freeze the rent on 1 million rent-regulated apartments, a move that would need sign-off from the Rent Guidelines Board. 58 minutes past the hour. Those of you in California, please stay tuned for more news and information on LACA. And if you're watching on the East Coast, stay tuned for On New Jersey Mornings. We thank you for watching, and we're coming right back in 2 minutes. A very good morning to you. It's 8 a.m. on Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. The phone lines are open 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Some clouds today. Highs upper 30s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the full Garden State forecast.
Weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts.
Upper 30s is much better than low 20s, Mike, any day of the week.
It's a big improvement, right? So we've warmed up throughout the overnight. Good morning to you, Ken. And we continue this milder trend over the next few days, even though there are a few cool starts. Look at that, 36 right now to start our day over in Toms River and Ship Bottom, but a little bit cooler back toward Trenton. Not a terrible amount of wind chill. Wind chill's only taking off a few degrees, making it feel like the low 30s. Even the wind gusts light at the moment, just a couple miles per hour. And the temperature change, we've warmed up 10 degrees thanks to that wind out of the south and west there in Ship Bottom from this time yesterday. 14 degrees over in Sussex. So a big change over the last 24 hours. With our cloud cover moving back in for today, likely will be another gray day. But I also want to point out our sponsor, Audio Nova, has all of these clinic locations at the 13 cities in New Jersey, from Ramsey and Montville, where you just have some clouds today, and back over toward Mountain Lakes, Randolph, and Hackettstown. So some new towns for you this morning, and in each one of these towns you can find an Audio Nova location. So it is a fine day to go get your hearing checked and make an appointment, especially down the shore where your 45 degrees in Toms River will feel much more pleasant thanks to that warming trend over the next few days. Now, the Futurecast shows with the clouds that are around today, a few spotty sprinkles into overnight and tomorrow. I think we dry out mostly for tomorrow afternoon and bring back a little bit of a mild morning. Could reach the 50s before cooling back off into the evening. But it's Thursday that sees another warming trend, bringing our temperatures back into the 40s. So a little bit of a flip-flop over the next few days, but the trend into the weekend is milder. Then we head into Friday, could see a few more spots of rain, but look at that, 58 degrees by Newark to finish out the day on Friday afternoon. 50s pretty much statewide, leading into a little bit of a cloudy start to Saturday, but not all that chilly, and that's the good news. We keep things warming up over the next few days. There's our 53 for Friday with some steady showers returning by the afternoon. We'll tell you more about how the rest of the weekend looks coming up with your weekend forecast, Ken, in just a few minutes.
You know what? You can mention the weekend on Sunday, the previous Sunday, and I'll be good with that, Mike. And we just talk weekend the whole time. So thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. We'll catch you in a little bit. We have 29 degrees in Trenton. It's 32 degrees northern New Jersey and 31 degrees down the shore in Vineland right now. We will take that. That's not so bad for early to mid-January. That's not so bad at all. All right, some reports for you on the roadways. Over on the Garden State Parkway, we have a disabled vehicle southbound at the Essex Toll Plaza in Bloomfield. You can see the brake lights as they get to the top there of the screen. This is the center toll lane closed, and that's causing a slowdown getting into that location as a result. We also have a crash on 295 northbound at exit 67, which is Lawrence Township. The right lane of 3 lanes and the right shoulder are closed. Again, that is 295 northbound by exit 67, Route 1 in Lawrence Township. The right lane of 3 lanes and the right shoulder closed. We have debris now on 287 southbound north of exit 42, Route 46, Parsippany, Troy Hills. You can see the slowdown at the top right of your screen there. Left lane of 3 lanes closed there. Another crash on the Garden State Parkway. This is a little further south. This is, whoops, let's see, bring it up again. All right, this is by exit 137, northbound, north of exit 137. This is in Cranford. All lanes are open, vehicles off to the right shoulder. Let's go to the Hudson River crossings right now if we can. The Holland Tunnel is a good deal, 20 to 25. Lincoln, 30 to 35. GWB right now, there's still an issue. They're working on a crash and an earlier car fire. Do they have? It looks like they cleared away the emergency vehicle. So that's a good thing. That was on the transverse on the left, which took you into the toll plaza by the express lanes. And it looks like now things are moving relatively smoothly. A lot of people were avoiding the GWB because of the earlier problems. Now you can see it's relatively fast. So we're told it's only about 20 minutes across on the GWB. If you want to head back that way, if that's where you normally would go, That's going to be your better bet. In fact, your best bet getting into Manhattan this morning. Not bad at all. Oh, just one more thing. We have a crash on the New Jersey Turnpike, Hudson County Extension, westbound, east of interchange 14, I-78 in Newark. All lanes are open, but there is a crash, and that's off to the shoulder right now. It is 8:05, and former Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores pleaded not guilty to narco-terrorism and other charges in Manhattan federal court yesterday. Prosecutors at the Justice Department say Maduro provided Venezuelan diplomatic passports to drug traffickers and provided diplomatic cover for planes used by money launderers to repatriate drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela. Reports say the dictator declared himself a prisoner of war, even compared himself to Jesus. Democrats have criticized the military operation, saying it was a violation of state sovereignty. The U.S. says this wasn't about regime change. If it were, we wouldn't have told them to go ahead and swear in your vice president. So literally, the change of power occurred in Venezuela like it would normally occur, which is why President Trump said that he was not in support of having the opposition candidate come in. He's saying, look, this isn't regime change. We had to arrest your president because he violated American law. We're not going to do anything else. The rest is on you. So they swore in the vice president. So that is not regime change. The Democrats keep calling it that. If it were regime change, it would mean an entire different group of people would be in power. That did not happen. We went after one guy and one guy only. We arrested that guy because he was a drug dealer in the U.S., responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of U.S. citizens. If you sold that many drugs in the United States, responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands, you would be arrested too. And by the way, if you fled to Europe or somewhere else, the U.S. would go after you the same way. So just because this guy's day job happened to be illegally and fraudulently being the leader of Venezuela, which he took to that position illegally, doesn't matter. He got arrested. That's that. The number two was sworn in. There is no case. So Democrats do not have an argument, which is why this will go nowhere in Congress. 8:07 right now, wild scene at a school in Elizabeth yesterday morning. An out-of-control driver slammed into the John E. Dwyer Technology Academy about 8 a.m., striking a student in the process. That student injured their leg, is expected to be okay. Police say the driver blew through a red light at the corner of Bridge and Pearl Streets, then drove over the curb and the sidewalk before hitting the outside wall of the school's auditorium, which was badly damaged. No word on how the driver lost control or whether any charges would be filed. 8:08, Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill will nominate Aaron Binder to lead New Jersey's Treasury. Binder is currently serving as the state's deputy treasurer. As treasurer, he will oversee New Jersey's multi-billion-dollar budget, taxation, pensions, and investments, and manage a department of over 3,000. 8:08, police are investigating a deadly double shooting in Paulsboro, Gloucester County. The incident happened early Sunday morning. Investigators say when they arrived on scene, 40-year-old Roman Acevedo told them he had shot two people. Police say Acevedo admitted he intentionally shot an adult woman before accidentally shooting a minor. The adult woman was pronounced dead on the scene. The minor survived the shooting. Acevedo was charged with first-degree murder. 8:09, a rising star in the boxing world was struck and killed by a car Saturday in Old Bridge. The amateur boxing champ, 30-year-old Devon Porter of New Brunswick, was crossing Route 9 just before 1:30 in the morning when police say a Honda driven by an unnamed 30-year-old man struck him. Porter was pronounced dead at the scene. No word on whether charges would be filed. Democrats have been hiking taxes and fees in New Jersey for decades while providing fewer services for constituents. So is it any wonder that so many people who live in New Jersey are fleeing or making plans to flee by the thousands to sunnier climes like Florida, where there's no state income tax and year-round warmth and sun? In its 49th National Movers study, United Van Lines explored the shifts in migration throughout the United States, revealing where and why residents are moving. The study showed the main reason to move is to be closer to family, followed by job opportunities and job market expansion. But for the 8th consecutive year, think about this, the 8th consecutive year, more residents moved out of New Jersey than any other state in the country. This is a state totally controlled by Democrats. This is a big problem. because the state population declines every year, meaning a lower tax rate, meaning declining population. We can't hire people to work, and we also lose out on people contributing to Social Security, etc. Any wonder why liberals in the state call it a sanctuary state and are welcoming illegals from around the world to the tune of nearly 1 million people? That's why, because the people who live here are fed up with your policies. We have a 62% outbound migration rate in this state of New Jersey. By the way, other liberal high-tax states like New York and California are also experiencing a similar outbound migration rate. There is not one Republican-controlled state in the country on that top 30 list of outward migration states. So Republican-led states know how to do it: lower taxes, better job opportunities, lower joblessness. And so people are moving to those states. It works every time it's tried. Conservatism does. Maybe the Democrats could wake up and try it. By the way, New Jersey has a state flower, a state fruit, even a state bird. Well, soon we may be able to add a state candy. In October, a New Jersey lawmaker reintroduced a bill that would make saltwater taffy the official state candy of New Jersey. Nearly 12 years ago, the bill was introduced to make saltwater taffy the state's official candy, but there weren't enough votes to pass it. Now, saltwater taffy was accidentally invented in the 1880s. So many things are accidentally invented, when a storm surge forced salt water into a candy shop in Atlantic City. The taffy that they were making got bathed in the salt water. A customer said, "I'll buy it. Don't worry about it." Tasted it and said the salt water actually brought out the sweetness in the taffy. A Jersey Shore delicacy was born. It's kind of like chicken parm was born in northern New Jersey by Italian Americans, kind of the same way. It was an accident. They didn't have anything else to put on the chicken. So this must be voted on by the state legislature and signed into law by incoming Governor Mikey Sherrill. But if you like saltwater taffy like I do, let's hope it happens. It is now 29 degrees in Trenton, 8:13. When we come back, what's the latest with the Epstein files? Attorney and Professor Alan Sanders will join us to talk about it. Mostly cloudy today, highs upper 30s. The full Garden State forecast when we return. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. Stream daily on Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, Facebook, and X, and now streamed live on Local Now, Substack, Rumble, and Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/On New Jersey. It is Tuesday, and we're coming right back.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. Play it big.
A very good morning and welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings for your Tuesday, 8:15 right now. Cloudy today, highs in the upper 30s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the Garden State forecast for you.
Weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts.
Oh, a little bit milder today, Mike, but at least we have clouds. Okay, fine. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
is what it is. By the way, just out of curiosity, curveball. How are we in terms of water? Have we had enough precipitation to keep our water supplies okay?
There is still a little bit of a drought, especially in northern New Jersey. We never left the abnormally dry stage. And now that it's been, well, continued with that abnormally dry, some parts of New Jersey have gone back to the moderate drought stage. Nothing severe, which is some good news. And we'll show you the drought monitor coming up a little later on in the show. But as far as today, our weather remains dry, and we have those clouds around for most of the afternoon. You see a few sprinkles here, the light showers showing up on the weather icons, but most of this doesn't even reach the ground. It's really a threat for later on tonight into the overnight and tomorrow. So plan on the clouds to be around for most of this afternoon and the chill certainly through the end of the day. The wind chill isn't terrible, especially with those breezes from the south and west, pushing in a milder fetch of air for tomorrow with 20s to start off the morning. And then again by Thursday morning, still a little chilly, but we warm quickly with the afternoon sun. That will make it feel very pleasant, like it's up in the 50s. And then each morning starts off a little cooler as those winds push in some milder weather by the end of the week. And ahead to the wind forecast, gusts throughout the today and tomorrow, I think are a little bit breezy by tomorrow afternoon. And again on Wednesday afternoon, specifically down the shore, you have that west wind coming in about 10 to 20 miles per hour. By Thursday, it's much calmer. And then we could see those winds pick up again by Friday evening as our next weather front pushes in for the upcoming weekend. So the clouds that are around right now, they stick around for most of today. I think we may see limited sunshine as opposed to yesterday, which had a few breaks in the clouds by the afternoon. The futurecast showing all of that snow and ice and rain staying well off to our north and west. Not an issue for us. So we keep, again, a few scattered sprinkles around later tonight. Unlikely if it's really going to rain heavily. But look what happens for Thursday morning, starting off rather cool and then turning warmer by the afternoon. Temperatures quickly rise into the 50s statewide, even up in the northeastern corner of the state, the upper 40s by Thursday afternoon. So if you're looking for a good time, maybe to start taking down the holiday and Christmas decorations, Thursday is some favorable weather to do so, especially later on in the evening. Once we get into Friday morning, that's when another chance of rain comes in, especially by the late morning, early afternoon. And then that'll keep temperatures mild, but the clouds hang around for most of the weekend. And I think we could see another spot of rain, especially for Saturday. While Saturday is not a washout, there are some showers in the forecast. It'll still be mild at 53 comparatively to the cooler weather, because by Sunday it turns chilly, 42 with sunshine returning, and that'll set a cooler trend on the way, Ken, for next week, but still above average. And we like above average, especially this time of year. Well, any time of year.
All right, Michael. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it. Got a lot of traffic happening right now. It's like everybody decided, let's cause traffic issues. So we go over to Route 3 right now. Take a look at Route 3 eastbound west of Main Avenue in Clifton. The left lane of 3 lanes closed. You can see emergency vehicles on the stretch there. So left lane as you're coming toward the camera. That's what we're talking about. So that is coming toward the camera. That is eastbound. Westbound is on the right. Those people are just rubbernecking. Stop looking at the crash. Look ahead. The people looking at the crash are causing all that traffic. Nonetheless, so this is eastbound Route 3, again, Main Avenue in Clifton. We now have a disabled vehicle on Route 1, southbound Carnegie Center Boulevard in West Windsor Township. I know we had this. It'll take Pam a second to bring that up. But this is, again, a disabled vehicle on Route 1, southbound Carnegie Center Boulevard in West Windsor Township. I swear to you, a second ago, that was a line of traffic. But you can see the tail lights as they get up toward the top of the screen. All lanes are now open. There we go. That's why. So they just fixed that. But that is in West Windsor Township. We also have a crash on the New Jersey Turnpike, Hudson County Extension, westbound east of interchange 14, I-78 in Newark. All lanes open to traffic, but again, a little slow down there. Crash on 295 northbound by exit 67. This is US 1 in Lawrence. right lane of 3 lanes, and the right shoulder are closed. We go over to the Hudson River crossings. The Holland Tunnel is about 20 to 25 in. Lincoln is 30 to 35. GWB approaches right now. You'll see still there was an emergency vehicle still clearing things up that was by that overpass there. That's been cleared. Earlier, we were talking 40-minute crossover times on the GWB. Now we're down to 20 to 25 minutes. Not a bad crossover trying to make your way into Manhattan. It is now 8:20, and the first batch of long-awaited Epstein files was made public last month following years of public pressure and a 30-day deadline set by Congress. Well, even now, additional records are still being released, keeping the story in the headlines and fueling public debate. To help us understand what's been released so far, we say good morning to Alan Sanders, an attorney, former Time Magazine senior reporter, and professor emeritus of political science at St. Peter's University in Jersey City. Good morning to you, Professor Sanders. Good to have you on.
Good morning, Ken.
Well, good morning. What are the files that we've seen thus far? What have we learned from those files at this point?
Well, I think we haven't learned very much, really. We've learned that, of course, Mr. Epstein had a lot of relationships with a lot of powerful people. He hung around them. They hung around him. And we got some pictures of some folks that were part of the entourage. Certainly, we saw pictures of Bill Clinton. But in terms of the horrible crimes that were involved in this with this man, we haven't seen very much. And so that's why you're still getting a lot of people, both on the left and on the right, arguing that really we need to see a lot more and that the administration has not complied with the law, which set a December deadline. So be prepared that this will be a continuing controversy. The information appears to be going out in dribs and drabs. And like all things that come out in dribs and drabs, it just prolongs the controversy. And so people will be asking, why didn't you just release everything as quickly as possible rather than drag it out the way it seems to have gone?
Certainly. And we just want to clarify, just because you have a picture with the person does not imply guilt, right? I mean, look, I've been on television in the New York area almost 40 years. I have a picture with probably 100,000 people. That's not an exaggeration. It sounds like hyperbole. I know you worked for Time. You were a reporter. I'm sure you took a lot of pictures with people. Just because you're pictured, even Bill Clinton, everyone loves to say, Bill, just because you took a picture does not mean they're guilty. Maybe, but not. There's no proof or evidence of guilt, right? I just want to clarify that because people right away assume if we see that person in a picture, they have to be guilty. And we just want to make that amply clear. And I think that was some of the hesitation to release a lot of the files. Now, the administration is saying they have to go through all these files. They don't want to release the names of victims. They don't want to release victims' photos to protect them. But they were given some time to get this stuff together. And not to mention, Professor, it's been years. The Justice Department, under different administrations on the left and right, could have gone through this for years. Why are they still holding on, even with President Trump saying, release the files?
Well, that's the big question. Look, the administration ran on in the campaigns. Elements of the campaign said we have to release the files, and a new Trump administration will release the files. And so, since the beginning of the Trump administration in January of last year, they've been in control of the files, and they could have released any aspect of the files. We went through a long process in Congress to get this law requiring the release of the files, but that law was not necessary, and it is still not necessary. Not necessary. The administration has full control of the documents, and they can release them now. So the question is, why did they not release them starting on January 20th of last year? And that's what fuels all of the controversy. The administration has not explained that. I mean, they have admitted that they went through the files to take a look at the mentions of Donald Trump in there. So if they already went through the files, clearly they know what's in them, and they could have released them or started to release them starting last year. That's the problem when you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it. It fuels controversy. It already has angered Democrats. It has angered elements of the MAGA wing, which expected that the release of these documents would release all kinds of evidence against powerful people. But so far, it's just dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. And that means, of course, it will become a campaign issue as we approach the November elections.
And I know people, Professor, on the left and the right screaming. People on the right who want Pam Bondi gone. They're like, hey, you said you have stacks of files on your desk. Well, where are these files? Let's see them. Because look, you know what? Whether you're Republican or Democrat, if somebody was crooked, I think anyone who's an honest person wants that person dealt with. If you are responsible for raping underage girls, you belong in jail. Period. This is not a Republican issue or a Democrat issue. I don't care who your favorite politician is. This is a potential crime. And as Americans, we should all be unified behind this and say, get these files out. No child should have had their lives destroyed because of filthy, wealthy old men doing something criminal. So,
Right.
I think, and I'm hearing this on both sides. Everybody just wants this out. And if it means the end of a political career in the process, next time don't kill people psychologically and emotionally and physically by doing what you do. And I think that's where we're at. Realistically, Professor, what are some of the expectations, though, about what these files can and cannot reveal? And is there a statute of limitations for some of the people who might be potentially implicated?
Yeah, there certainly are statutes of limitations depending on what crimes, were committed and are revealed in the files. But one thing to be clear about, what's really been released is relatively innocuous. Look, we're talking about a government investigation of heinous, very serious crimes. And really, the files have not revealed, that have been published, have not yet revealed anything about the actual crimes. So it means that the heart of why this man, Mr. Epstein, was investigated, the heart of why that happened has not been revealed to the public yet. And so that's why, again, this controversy is so serious. Also, what's particularly pertinent is the statute that Congress passed said that all the documents must be released. Of course, you have to protect victims. That part cannot be released, identifying victims. But otherwise, everything else must be revealed, essentially, even if it embarrasses powerful people. And so it means that, whatever people did hanging around Epstein, whether it's criminal or whether it's innocent, no matter what, it should be released. So far, really, we haven't seen very much of that.
Alan Sanders, attorney, former Time Magazine senior reporter, and professor emeritus of political science at St. Peter's University in Jersey City. We love every time you come on. You have such insight that we normally don't get with the little sound bites. Thanks for coming on. This is always a pleasure.
My pleasure. Take care, Ken.
All right. We're coming right back.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. play it big.
A very good morning to you. It is 8:30, Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. Our phone lines are wide open, 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. Clouds today, highs in the upper 30s. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the full Garden State forecast.
Weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts.
All right, Mike, I'm going to, let's throw the ball and right to you, sir.
Good morning, Ken. It's a bit of a cloudy forecast today, but not as cold as it has been in mornings past. You don't really feel that chill, that biting cold when you step outside. And this afternoon, we transition to a milder finish, upper 40s on the way, especially down the shore, with just some cloudy conditions, not anticipating any chance of rain here, especially south of 195. Any sprinkles you see on the map with the little rainy icon, like up toward Manahawkin, that's really points north of New Jersey today, and most of that it happens later on tonight, not even during the daylight hours. Our average high 41 degrees. We're far from the record of 72, but yeah, it'd be nice to get some 70s around here, especially since it's been so cold over the last few weeks. Bringing back the clouds today, keeping it overcast, but mostly dry. You can see the future cast for the rest of the day has a little bit of an easterly breeze. Sometimes that allows for some mist and drizzle at the shore, but otherwise I think we should be okay. Tomorrow, starting off our day with a little bit of cloud cover, but notice by Thursday, we warm quickly into the 40s and 50s. It'll feel much more pleasant heading into the weekend with this warm front doing its job and really warming us up over the coming days. There's a little weak cold front that sweeps through, keeps a few clouds around, but ultimately that clears out as the high pressure builds in and clears out our skies, looking very pleasant into Friday morning. Until we head to Friday afternoon, that's when some showers return, and I think some of that wet weather lingers into the weekend. Not a washout, but there'll be some light showers around throughout the day at some points this Saturday, some possibly even lingering into Sunday. We clear out beautifully for Monday and Tuesday of next week, nice and dry and clear, and then have some clouds return for the middle of next week. So the 7-day forecast looking very mild over the next few days as highs go all the way into the mid-50s by Friday, stay there for Saturday. Granted, it is with some rain. So I think the winner will be on Thursday, where we have the mild air coinciding with the sunshine, and then we cool things off a bit going into Sunday and Monday of next week, back down into the 30s for highs. The shore points a little milder still. You tap into that warm weather with the clearing for Friday. I think Saturday has some rain for you, and then cooler but clearing by Monday and Tuesday of next week. We'll take another check of your forecast and talk more about that drought scenario. Zoom into New Jersey, Ken. That's in a few minutes.
All right, sir. Appreciate you. It is 29 degrees now in Trenton, 32 degrees in northern New Jersey, and it's 31 degrees in Cape May. 28 degrees, by the way, in Vineland. A lot of traffic to talk about. Let's start it off on Route 3. This is a crash on Route 3 eastbound west of Main Avenue in Clifton. The left lane of 3 lanes closed. It looks like they may have maybe they moved the vehicle off the, so the left lane's coming toward us. That's exactly where this was. It looks like they may have moved the vehicle off the shoulder already, but you could see the rubbernecking and the delays on both sides. So that's still going on. In fact, Pam, you could pull off that and set up the GSP camera. So what happened was about half an hour ago, there was a crash, gotten off on the shoulder, emergency vehicles there, and traffic was dead stopped on Route 3 eastbound, right by Main Avenue, Clifton. Westbound, it was bumper to bumper with rubbernecking. Now, there's still residual delay, so let's take a look at this. This is the Garden State Parkway leading up to the exit for Route 3 East, as you can see, going to Secaucus. So you can see now they're moving. It's heavy but moving, but literally 2 minutes ago that was stopped as a result, residual problems. But it looks like that's getting fixed up. So you probably could still head that way if that's the way you're going to get into work. We have a crash now reported. We have to let Pam set this one up too. This is a crash on the New Jersey Turnpike, Hudson County Extension, westbound east of interchange 14, I-78 in Newark. All lanes are open, but you'll see the emergency vehicle on the right. You can see that happening right there. Again, that is a crash on the New Jersey Turnpike Hudson County Extension westbound, east of interchange 14, I-78 in Newark. All lanes are open, just a little bit of a slowdown due to the emergency vehicles. Hudson River crossings, the Holland and Lincoln, now 20 minutes. The GWB also moving very well, about 20 minutes. We had earlier problems on all. Right now, if you want to go into Manhattan, that's not bad. It actually looks heavier than it is. There is movement. Once you get past that camera spot, movement getting into Manhattan. So it's about a 20-minute ride into Manhattan. Not a horrible day in after an earlier start that was pretty heavy. 8:35 is our time. Former Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores pleaded not guilty to narco-terrorism and other charges in Manhattan federal court yesterday. We now find out they are due back in federal court in March, on March 13th. In the meantime, they have to be held in prison in New York City, so they'll be held until then. Prosecutors at the Justice Department say Maduro provided Venezuelan diplomatic passports to drug traffickers and facilitated diplomatic cover for planes used by money launderers to repatriate drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela. Reports say the dictator declared himself a prisoner of war yesterday and compared himself to Jesus. Some Democrats have criticized the military operation as a violation of state sovereignty. Meanwhile, Attorney General Pam Bondi said Operation Absolute Resolve was well within President Trump's constitutional authority, as it was a law enforcement action, not a regime change. It was meant to arrest indicted individuals in Venezuela. Maduro was indicted by a New York City court. It was a New York City, what's the term? I'm forgetting now. The grand jury. Thank you. New York City grand jury indicted him years ago. He's been wanted for almost 6 years under that indictment. So we have the right, if somebody is indicted in a U.S. court, we could go anywhere we want and get them, whether they're a U.S. citizen or not, whether they're the self-declared president of a country, which is what he was, self-declared, the people did not elect him, or not. Now, Maduro, by the way, could face the death penalty if convicted because his drug transmissions into the United States have resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of U.S. citizens. And believe me, they will prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law, trying to have a nexus between his actions and the deaths of those people. At 8:37, the Trump administration is cutting off more than $10 billion in social services and child care funding, meant for a handful of Democrat-led states over concerns the benefits were fraudulently funneled to non-citizens. The Department of Health and Human Services will freeze taxpayer funding from the Child Care Development Fund, the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Program, and the Social Services Block Grant Program. At least $7.3 billion in federal funds will be prevented from going to California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York. There are about 130,000 illegal migrants living in Minnesota, about 150,000 Somali refugees living in the state as well. That's about 4% combined of the state's population. The Somali diaspora started there about 45 years ago, fleeing civil war in their country, and then they stayed, even though civil war has come and gone many times in their country since then. Minnesota governor and former vice president candidate for the Democrats, Tim Walz, announced yesterday he would no longer run for a third term, acknowledging concerns about fraud in a press conference yesterday. Unconfirmed reports say Walz may also be considering stepping down from his governorship before the end of his term. 8:39, the Department of Homeland Security singled out Hilton on social media, saying a hotel in Minnesota outside of Minneapolis said that any ICE agents having reservations there can go someplace else. This was a Hampton Inn, which Hampton Inn falls under the Hilton umbrella. This Hampton Inn in Lakeville, just south of Minneapolis, put out a sign and a social media post saying that they are not allowing any ICE or immigration agents to stay at their property. Quote, if you are with DHS or immigration, let us know, as we will have to cancel your reservation. That according to this social media screenshot. Hilton said it does not own or operate the hotel, so don't blame them. The company's shares, Hilton's, were down nearly 2.5% yesterday. People are pissed. Hilton put out a statement saying this hotel is independently owned and operated. These actions were not reflective of Hilton values. Quote, we have been in direct contact with the hotel and they've apologized for the actions of their team, which was not in keeping with their policies. However, until that team is terminated and is no longer part of their team, I think a lot of people will start boycotting Hilton hotels and specifically that local hotel in suburban Minneapolis, and rightfully so. These are legal law enforcement agents. By the way, there's no word that they've even done anything or made any arrests yet. This is literally singling out and being prejudicial to people because you don't like them for whatever personal reasons you have. And again, I repeat what I said earlier. If the team at this hotel, and I can't stand that socialist term, hey team, it is to, by the way, it was created several years ago because of the trans community. So as not to say ladies and gentlemen, because there are all these genres of people in between ladies and gentlemen. Bull crap. There are ladies and there are gentlemen, and there's nothing else in between. Maybe bisexuals, maybe. Stop this team bull crap. And every corporation that says team, I want nothing to do with you. But by the way, so if they were to put out a memo saying if you are Black or if you are Hispanic or if you are Asian, let us know because you can't stay at our hotel. Can you imagine the fury, and rightfully so, that there would be? But they're saying if you're a member of a federally recognized and designated law enforcement agency, you can't come here, you can't stay here. Yeah, they need to be fired right away. 8:41, several earthquakes, including one with a 6.2 magnitude, struck western Japan yesterday morning. The initial 6.2 quake hit at 10:18 a.m. local time. No massive damage and nobody reported hurt. And a man was taken into custody yesterday after Vice President J.D. Vance's home in Cincinnati was vandalized. Police say the man was taken into custody at the scene. They say it is 26-year-old William DeFore, who was born a man but now identifies as a woman, Julia. The person is charged with vandalism, obstruction of official business, and criminal trespassing. The question is, where was Secret Service, and how do you let somebody get that close to the sitting vice president's house to break in the windows with a hammer? Somebody's got to be accountable for that. And a wild scene at a school in Elizabeth yesterday morning. An out-of-control driver slammed into the John E. Dwyer Technology Academy at 8 a.m., striking a student in the process. The student has a minor leg injury and is expected to be okay. Police say the driver blew through a red light at Bridge and Pearl Streets, then drove over a curb and the sidewalk before hitting the outside wall of the school's auditorium, seriously damaging the auditorium. No word on how the driver lost control or whether any charges would be filed. It is 29 degrees at 8:42. When we come back, we'll speak with one of New Jersey's few Republican state assemblymen about what the incoming Sherrill administration will mean for conservatives in the state. Clouds today, high upper 30s, the full Garden State forecast when we return. You're watching On New Jersey Morning. I'm Ken Rosato, and we're coming right back.
Play it like the New York Sirens. Live in the spotlight. Etch your name in lights. Embrace the noise. And when it calls you, turn it up. Get louder. Play Play it like they'll hear us everywhere. Because this is our team. New York Sirens. Play it big.
A very good morning to you. It is 8:45. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. We check our forecast from the Garden State with meteorologist Mike Favetta in just a moment.
Weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts.
So, Mike, if our predictions are correct that we're kind of 4 weeks ahead of where we normally would be at this time,
Right.
I am planning a trip down the Jersey Shore in early March.
Oh, well, okay, but here's the thing. You get that really icy cold water that takes a long time to warm, even
Yes.
into the spring. So, it's true. You have these warm summer-like days in northern New Jersey that happen in early March, and people go, I'm gonna go down the shore for the day. And then they get there and they freeze their butts off because it's 40 degrees on the beach. So yeah, ill-advised, but I see your point, kind of getting there, kind of working it your way toward a little bit of a summer feeling. Yet we just got to take it day by day, especially with the chilly weather that's around today. Not as cold as yesterday, but some clouds around for northeastern New Jersey, maybe some showers developing later on this evening in between the breaks of sun there from Sussex and Newton. I think overall it's a dry day and not a day you need to carry the umbrella, but there could be enough of a little bit of wet weather, especially later on this evening. Look how most of New Jersey west of the Parkway still abnormally dry, or at least in a moderate drought. This area in Sussex and Warren County technically severe, but again, it's just been this prolonged dry period, even though the rainfall deficit only up to an inch. So I'm not talking about a whole lot of a rainfall deficit for most of the state. We continue the above average temperature trend for the northern half of the state going into the next few weeks in January, so no change there. And then we'll likely see some dry weather take over in the Midwest and West, and here in New Jersey, equal chances of rain. We get a good chance of rain by this weekend. It starts on Friday, coincides with a 53-degree warm-up, lingers with spotty showers into Saturday, and then clears out by the second half of the weekend. Sunday turning clear, 42 degrees, chilly on Monday, and then we warm up again by Tuesday, even down the shore. Looks nice and mild as well as those showers take over primarily for Saturday, maybe just some clouds for you for most of the day with a spotty sprinkle in there for the first half of the weekend. But the warming trend happens as well down the shore. 48 degrees by Tuesday with sunshine. That will look lovely, Ken.
Right, sir. We appreciate lovely. Lovely is a good thing. Now let's see if we can get 80 degrees. Really good. By the way, it was recently in South Florida, and you're right. It's amazing how the water lags a couple of months behind, because even though there were a couple of nights, believe it or not, in Broward County and Miami-Dade County, where the overnight temperature got down to the low 40s, which for
Sure.
us in New Jersey sounds like, that's warm.
Right.
Floridians don't have properly insulated homes. Many do not have heat. They only have air conditioning. A lot of people don't realize that South Florida, in many cases, they do not have heaters because they don't really need them. And a lot of people don't have heavy coats and blankets and things like that. So when you
Right.
get a night that's 43 and your house gets down to 43, it's cold.
Yeah,
But the ocean temperature is still 78. So it takes a few months, right, of lagging behind
it does.
before that ocean temperature is going to cool down like the air temperature did. So it's kind of interesting the way that works. All right, Mike. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you as always. We will check back actually tomorrow. You're done.
Yeah.
Go and have a day. Go play with your family. We appreciate you. Thank you, Mike. Have a great
Take
day.
care.
It is, you bet. It is 8:48 right now. We have a crash. Garden State Parkway. Take a peek at this. This is southbound, south of exit 153A. This was from earlier. This is actually not a crash on the Garden State. It's a crash that was on Route 3 that has been cleared, but there are now residual delays on the Garden State Parkway by the Route 3 exit. You know what? Then Pam has just pointed out there are flashing lights on the other side of that sign. So maybe there has been a crash on the Garden State because everybody was slowing down to get off for Route 3, where there was also a crash. Does that make sense? And now there's a crash here. Well, nonetheless, you see there's bumper to bumper traffic, so try to avoid the Garden State Parkway in the vicinity of Route 3. Also have delays on the GSP northbound from south of exit 143 in Irvington to south of exit 145, 280 in East Orange. All lanes open, but that's a 2.5 to 3 mile delay right now. Your Hudson River crossings, it's only 15 to 20 at the Holland, 20 minutes at the Lincoln. GWB has lightened up a lot. It was 45 to 50 minutes at one point. It's now down to about 25 to 30 minutes, upper on the right, lower level on the left. It is 8:50, and Assemblyman Paul Kenitra is a Republican representing New Jersey's 10th legislative district since 2024. He's from Point Pleasant Beach, where he previously served as mayor, here to talk about everything that happened in Trenton. Let's talk. In fact, first we say good morning to Assemblyman. We have a new
Morning,
GOP
Ken.
chair selection here. Good morning. Christine Hanlon, who defeated our friend who's been on the show here many times, Rosemary Becky, also Steve Lonigan, to succeed Glenn Paulson. So talk about that. What was that like? Were there fireworks? Was it calm? Is there support behind Christine? What was the situation like?
Well, it's funny that you say that because in terms of what it was actually like on the inside where the sausage was getting made, as a sitting state assemblyman, one of the few Republican elected officials left standing in New Jersey, I don't even know myself because it was kind of like the epitome of a secret society meeting last night. I talked to some of the candidates beforehand. They weren't even allowed to tell you where they were at. Coincidentally, they were at the Hibernian Club in Hamilton. Doesn't that even sound like a cloak and
Oh,
daggers type place, right? They gathered together. All the cardinals of the NJGOP, we'll call them, the 42 state committee men and state committee women. And then the papal smoke went up last night, and they ordained Christine Hanlon. And that we're in a tough spot as the NJGOP, and the secrecy of the process in general. I think maybe wasn't the best look for us when we need to become the populist party. We need to become the party more and more of the working class guy, of the masses that's out there. So I certainly would love to see it done a little differently in the future.
yeah, it's like, and I love the terminology you used, by the way. I was thinking more in terms of carabinieri as opposed to cardinals, but it all kind of works the same. But yeah, you're right. This is not the way. If you want to be welcoming and open to everybody, you don't meet at the Hibernian Club. Not the Irish folks are great, God bless them, but you should be in some kind of a public forum where everybody could be there and take part. Certainly, and we're seeing the same thing in New York State for the Republicans. And the same thing in a lot of other states. I have friends in California. In fact, our show now airs, our first hour airs in California. Our anchor out there, Jeff Bond, tells us it's the same thing. 40% of the state of California voted for President Trump, but there is like zero representation of the Republican Party, might as well not even exist in the state. It's unreal. They've kind of just given up. And it sort of feels that way. Oh, look at that. I just lost my background for a second. It kind of feels that way for New Jersey as well. And that's kind of sad. But the way to combat having an election of like the incoming Governor Sherrill is not to become secretive.
Agreed. Look, politicians easily forget that the general public hates politicians, right? For us to actually be approachable, we've got to institute some real reforms in our party, right? We came into this election, and all of us, myself included, all the way up to Jack Ciattarelli, thought that we were going to sneak by and win the governor's race. We thought we were going to pick up somewhere between 3 and 5 seats in the assembly, and we couldn't have been more off. Right? I mean, we were absolutely slaughtered in this last election, and there's no way to sugarcoat that. I'm down to myself and 23 of us in the assembly. We lost the gubernatorial race by double digits. And for that to change, how are we going to appeal to the rank and file person, to the Trump voter who doesn't feel like they're a Republican, to the independent, who is tired of being taxed to death, but for some reason lost that messaging in the gubernatorial race and was blaming Republicans for our rising energy costs, right? And part of that is the institution itself. So there's going to be a lot of challenges for the new chairwoman, for Christine Hanlon. and how the process occurred, starts things off a little bit in the wrong direction, because the state committee men and the state committee women in many ways are tied closely with the county chairs, right? And those county chairs have so much influence over how most of them vote. I'm not saying all of them, they're independent people, but generally the way that that county chair wants is generally the way that the county committee man and county committee woman goes. And that's the same situation that we're dealing with at the local level. For you to win the endorsement of your local Republican organization, win the endorsement of your county Republican organization, you have to kiss the ring a lot of times. And that tampons down young candidates. It disenfranchises dynamic individuals. It tends to elevate in New Jersey party lackeys sometimes, who don't necessarily have the merits to stand on their own. And when you see people get disenfranchised, you wind up just getting people who are in it for the power and all the wrong reasons. And how then do those people go out to the masses and say, "Hey, become a Republican. We're great. We're for you"? It's a real contradiction, isn't it?
Paul, you nail it. And we all know some of those lackeys. As I look down over my glasses at you, we could name names off the air. We won't name them on the air. We probably have all the same names on the list. And the amazing thing is, and this is something that I screamed, in fact, when I had Jack Ciattarelli on, I said these words to him and I hadn't heard after. I was like, please, you need to say this. Point out that all of the problems in New Jersey have to be blamed on the Democrats. Go down the list. New Jersey's Democrats control the governor, the assembly, the Senate, 9 of the 12 congressional seats, both Senate, U.S. Senate seats, the state Supreme Court, the top 15 largest cities controlled by Democrat mayors. Nothing can be blamed on Republicans. Yet we have the highest energy costs. We have the highest migration out of the state of any state in the United States. We have one of the largest per capita influxes of illegal aliens with nearly 1 million. We have some of the highest per capita student costs I should run for office, highest per capita student costs in schools, and yet we don't have the numbers to show for it in our inner city schools. I didn't hear this. I'm sorry. And Jack is a nice man, a lovely man. I didn't hear any of this screaming from the mountaintops from him. And I think that the Republicans need to get up there and start screaming this out of the top of their lungs, or they will never win again.
Ken, I couldn't agree with you more. And I love seeing the passion that you just brought to the table. That is exactly what we need, right? These polished 1990s political versions that we put out, the direct mail pieces that say a whole bunch of nothingness, they're not reaching people. They go immediately in the trash. Press releases, and not to get into your world, but press releases are a thing of the past. People want real politicians with real opinions that view the world that they do. If you're going to be, a representative of the people, they expect you to look and act like them, right? But one of our biggest problems is we can't get out of our own damn way. So the new chairwoman here, Christine Hanlon, one of the first things that I'm going to be looking for from her is, how do you bring the warring factions together? If you do not bring the warring factions in New Jersey together,
I got it. Whoop. We didn't do that.
whether you want to call them
there we go.
rhinos.
Paul, I got to stop you only because your signal is now cutting in and out. We will have you back. I promise. We're going to do 2 segments if you want. Assemblyman Paul Kenitra, Republican representing New Jersey's 10th Legislative District. Thanks for coming out this morning. We'll have you back. Have a wonderful day. And we thank you for watching on New Jersey Mornings. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Ken.